It has been nearly a year since the devastating earthquake in San Francisco Bay Area, but as our science editor Michael Gillen discovered, there may be an even bigger tremor yet to come.
It happened shortly after 5 p.m. last October 17th. It only lasted for about 15 seconds, but it'll be remembered for generations to come. It registered 7.1 on the Richter scale. Not the big one, but a pretty big one, and all of this, mind you, caused by a fault that ruptured more than 50 miles from San Francisco. I'm standing on the Hayward Fault, only a hop, skip, and a jump from San Francisco. If this fault or 3 others in the area were to go, it would make last October's earthquake seem like a mere shiver. Now, what are the possibilities that that will happen? Well, according to this brand new magazine being put out by the U.S. Geological Survey, in the next 30 years, there is a 2-to-1 chance that this area could become ground zero for the most devastating earthquake in American history. This is U.S. Geological Survey headquarters, just south of San Francisco. Scientists here constantly monitor the Earth's pulse using the latest seismological technology. Their magazine, printed in 3 languages plus Braille, will be distributed to nearly 3 million people through local newspapers. An unprecedented attempt to explain the seismic facts of life in language the public can understand.
During Loma Prieta, the property damage was totaled at about $6 billion, making it the most expensive earthquake since 1906. Whereas for an earthquake along the Hayward Fault, we anticipate the damage could be as high as $70 billion. That's 11 times, 12 times more than Loma Prieta.
The most important thing to do is to make sure your house is bolted to its foundation, that it's able to withstand the earthquake shaking. The second thing is to make sure your family knows how to prepare, that they're able to care for themselves during the earthquake. And lastly, know how to protect yourself. It ought to be instinctive. If you have to go to the phone book to find out what to do during an earthquake, it's too late.
The magazine also pinpoints the seismic hotspots in the area. The worst is the Hayward Fault, which cuts right through densely populated communities east of San Francisco Bay. One of those communities is Oakland. They're still picking up the pieces from last October's quake. What scientists predict is that when the Hayward Fault goes, it'll be 12 times worse than this. This is Memorial Stadium at the University of California at Berkeley. On a typical Saturday afternoon, the stadium will hold up to 80,000 people. The problem is the Hayward Fault runs right down the center of the field. Further south is the community of Fremont. Its city hall sits practically right on the fault.
The red paint here on the soil shows the trace of the fault going in depth in the earth.
So it's pretty deep. What would happen if this thing were to give right now?
You'd be 7 feet in that direction and perhaps a foot lower.
That's because the ground on this side of the fault slips by that much?
Exactly.
Not too far from Fremont is the community with the same name as the fault, Hayward. They've had to raise extra money through taxes and civic activities just to prepare their government buildings for the quake to come. So you might wonder, why would anyone want to live in Hayward?
We have time to prepare, and I think the things that we can prepare to do are relatively inexpensive on a person-by-person basis and allow us to maintain the kind of quality of life that we all enjoy. The Bay Area is just a great place to live in, and we want to stay living here.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking, that if you don't live in California, why should you care? Well, the fact is that except for Iowa, Wisconsin, and Delaware, every state in the Union is seismically active. And this may surprise you, but the strongest earthquakes in history happened not here in San Francisco or Los Angeles, they happened in Missouri and made the church bells ring as far away as Boston. So no matter where you are watching this story, this could be you one day, reading the scientist's warning and wondering just what you should do to prepare for the worst.
I think we need to be reminded that there is going to be another one and we have to prepare for it.
I don't fear the earthquake. I'm certainly concerned about it, and I'm concerned about the devastation that it may occur, but I don't live in fear of it or concerned about it at all.
For years, we've dreamed of controlling the forces of nature, but of course we're nowhere near realizing that dream. This pamphlet reminds us that when it comes to earthquakes, the best we can do is to prepare for the inevitable, because in the end, the Earth will have the last say.
And if you want a copy of that booklet, we will give you that address at 7:30 straight up. We'll be back.